Well, you're a right old curmudgeonly thing, says my best friend to me on a regular basis. And I think he's probably right. Curmudgeonly is a word I've become well acquainted with recently. I'm getting to that Victor Meldrew, possibly, I don't want to use one foot in the grave, but, when you kind of know there's a hell of a lot less in front of you than is behind you. And I despair at the world as I currently find it in. I find it difficult to relate to a lot of things. There's a lot of good things in it as well. But I despair, and the only thing that gives me comfort is I suppose I'm not the only one throughout the generations that despaired. It's just that I feel this time around in history, underpinning everything is a certain sinister vibe that I get. And it's Christmas Eve, so I don't want to be bringing everybody down. I've had a good job at it so far. Hello to you and welcome to This Much Is True, which is a kind of, well, I say kind of again, that's my favourite, isn't it? It's an opportunity to ring my bell. I can't even find my bell, so that's a sign of the times. Here it is. Don't say kinda again, Mark. I interviewed a guy the other night. I'm interviewing a lot of people recently for Scary Era, and he had a lot more kindas than I did, but I didn't want to interrupt him by... Yeah. So, and so this morning I was up really, really early, about 3:15, in fact, and we collected our daughter, who came in safely, thank God, from New York at about 4:45ish in the morning. She looks great. She's having a ball. Once she's safe and happy, I'm happy. We're all happy. So everybody came home. I'm dying. I'm not dying with a cold. I have this thing I can't quite shake. And the wife had it worse. Now she's coming out of it. So everybody came home and kind of had our hugs, put our Christmas lights on, and retired early because of jet lag and us getting up early and what have you, except for me. So I decided I'd have a cup of tea, and I'm a sad old bastard, I know. I like to watch a guy called Richard Felix, who's the ex-historian for Most Haunted, and some of his old videos from around 2002, where he did a tour of the so-called British Isles, ghost tour. So I'll get 15 minutes of Richard in if I can. It's so badly filmed as well, it's quite funny. And at the end of everything, he pretty much says, fantastic, fantastic. And he relates the stone tape theory. If you don't know what it is, go Google, about 50 times a show. Now, it's something I actually subscribe to, but you've got to be into paranormal to really dig all that stuff. So I said I'd give it 15 minutes, cup of tea, but I flicked around. And as I did, I saw it was the Youth European Parliament, in our own parliament. So essentially you had representatives of the up-and-coming youth, mid-teens, late teens, suited and booted, being very parliamentary type or parliamentarian. And each speaker would get up. A lot of them, God love them, they were burdened with nerves. That's okay and that's understandable. And it's quite charming in some ways. So I noticed at one point there was a lady pretending she was a TD or an MP giving a speech, and behind her there was this girl doing this. And I thought to myself, that's definitely some kind of OCD, until the rest of the chamber came into wide focus, and they too were guys and girls. I said, what the fuck is this? It's the jazz hand thing, isn't it? Now, I remember addressing this on my radio show years ago. It must have been about 10 years ago. I'd read an article about noises interrupting people, so therefore, in sympathy with them, this empathetic thing came out. And I remember reading it to ridicule it. Now, it's a thing. Now it's a thing. And I looked at it, and I thought to myself, snowflake, number one, here we go. I think the defence of it is perhaps if there's people on the autistic spectrum. They don't like loud noises. And look, I know people I'm probably on it myself, on the spectrum. I understand that. But realistically, I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, look, there are blind people out there. Are we going to cover our eyes in sympathy? You know, it's just, you don't even have to clap. You can do a British thing on it. You can say, hear, hear. You know, but this, cretinous, ludicrous, infantile, and also, I cannot but think, it's not even a woke thing. This is somebody having a laugh. And a fucking belly laugh. Happy Christmas Eve. I told you. So don't get your knickers in a knot about autism or something. It's not where I'm coming from, because I do think this is someone having a laugh. In the same way as these pathetic, pan-banging, dancing for TikTok nurses and guards took over during the pandemic. When I am in a pandemic, if such a thing exists, I want my freaking professionals on DEFCON 1. I don't want them doing fucking dances for me or bizarre rituals. To me, it says, hang on, here's your hour, your finest hour, to quote Churchill. What are you doing? Dancing for the camera? Christ! Now you see why I don't come on that often anymore, and you're delighted because you're just looking at a grumpy old man, but surely there must be some grain of what I'm saying to you resonating. Is there? Or is it just me? That's the other thing. That's the greatest arsenal of all. Is it just me? People are afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to call out lunacy, ludicrous behaviour. You know, cretinous. Give me a fucking break. So I wish you, I've had a good 2024, despite all my ranting, and I wish you an excellent 2K25. Yeah, things are going well. Voiceover business is ticking along, and you don't want to know, but you're going to anyway. Scary Era has gotten a life of its own. As a matter of fact, I'm going into an edit straight away after this. It's the law of attraction, isn't it? It's just words trickled out in the Irish paranormal community. There's a show called Scary Era. So the beauty of it is, as well, is you finish one interview and they're happy, and the interviewees, and next minute you get an email going, you should have so-and-so on, and you should have so-and-so on. This week I interviewed a real live witch, lovely Yvonne, down in Youghal. And it's beautiful. It's all to do with nature, and there's nothing, irreligious about it, etc. You know, it's. I couldn't find much difference between it and Druidry, insofar, I'm looking at a Druid book here, insofar as it's nature. It's related to nature. This is all the white witch stuff now, you know. And the seasons and feeling and emotion and appreciation of the elements. It's beautiful. And so we're all invited down to Youghal for next Samhain's festival. They just had the solstice on Saturday, and I got prayed for at the solstice by my favourite witch, Yvonne. And they'd all the garb on. They sent me the footage as well. I might put some of it up, where the big fire is on the beach. And they'd 22 witches in total. And in Samhain festival a few months back, they had witches from all over the world, the UK, the States, and even Brazil, as far afield, Germany as well. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it. There's a chance it's going to go on radio as well, on local radio anyway. And even if it's not, I'll probably be back on radio in the new year with a 70s and 80s type program. Nice little local station in one of, I'm not going to say where it is yet. It's in one of the coolest spots in Dublin, and it's not too far from here. So look, I don't care whether half a dozen people are listening. I'll be back in radio, perhaps with paranormal show or music. And when I want, I can just go downstairs to some of the most lavish coffee shops and boutiques in Dublin City. And that will be good. So it will. If you've had a bad year, don't worry about next year, and don't worry about making massive. How many have we? I've decades of making huge promises of New Year's resolutions, etc. I would look to the Tony Robbins model, and that is to look for progress. Progress in everything. First and foremost, attitude. Now, I know I started off in my usual grumpy old way, giving out and ranting. But the thing is, what you don't see is that all 15 stone 4 of me was just up in the little compartment attic we have. At various angles, even Action Man would be challenged to achieve, pulling out old decorations and suitcases to get at a handful of. My wife is a micromanager. She's got a heart of gold. She's brilliant. In fact, I just think she's so thorough. She will not do anything by halves. And there she is with a cold, and everything has to be, every decoration needs to be up. The lights have to be on the tree when my daughter walks in from the States. They have to be, and the curmudgeon in me tends to rail. But then what I do is I just change my attitude and say, look, do I want a row today, or do I want it going Harmony House, as I call it? Harmony House is always a better option, especially if you keep going. God, yeah, this is one of my achievements this year. But if you keep going, let me finish, you might get a nice glass of wine. I have parted the waves from, I wouldn't say, I was never I wasn't an alcoholic or anything. But 3 times a week I would have between 2 and 3 glasses. And the odd time, very odd time, close to a bottle of wine. And I have rode it back. There's weekends I don't have anything. And I sleep better for it. There is a conviviality in sitting down with your loved one and watching some program. But also I can be in here and I can be doing a bit of work. She's in there in her element with Breaking Bad, or I don't know, somebody, Hollywood Housewives, whatever the hell, she needs to chill out for. And she is my beloved wife. I shouldn't be calling her she, but puts up with a lot. So yeah, for the new year, go into progress. Little bits of progress. I've met a lot of people this year. As you know, we started out well with this. Now it fell off the rails a bit. My mea culpa around August time, I think, before I went to the States. And I just felt it wasn't enough interaction, and I didn't get my knickers in a knot about that. I know it's up to me to provide the content. And what content did you have? Mutton ahead here, giving it freaking yards. I really wanted something to use to get back into radio or podcast. What I love about Scary Era is you might see it on YouTube and you might go 100 views or something. Bollocks. I'm sorry. It's shotgunned. It goes all over the place. I only stick up the YouTube thing for myself because I'd like to test it. But it goes live bi-weekly. So it's not every week. It's bi-weekly. It goes out like a hot snot on a Monday. Every second week. And Paranormal UK, it's a misnomer, it's run from the States. Paranormal UK Radio Network. Put that thing on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Sounds, Audible. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to pay for it. So they're going to give it as much traction as it can. That said, there are excellent paranormal shows, and indeed excellent Irish paranormal ones that would leave me trailing in the dust. But I have seen Scary Era, I'm going to stop talking about it, as it's my little project. I want to go for 50 shows and then I'll stop and I'll see where we go, just like we did with this one. I'm archiving stories and I'm loving it. I'm also creating a little niche where we can have an international interlude, not just because it's hard enough to get content, but I am getting genuine interest from outside countries. I had a guy contact me from India this week because he reckons there are similarities between exorcisms in Ireland and in India. Go figure. I don't know, but Arun wants to work with me on that, so we'll see. And then again, my old buddies in the States and in the UK, and of course Billy Kirkwood in Scotland, fab guy who's just won a radio competition as one of the next up and coming radio people, and he's very, very good and very helpful to me. Same with Sarah, lovely English lady up the north of Ireland, who has read for me as well. So yeah, watch out for Scary Era Paranormal. Hope you get lots of presents and stuff if that's your thing. Personally, it's not mine. I just like having the family around. I'm loving just having all my daughters together again and the vibe that's in the house. And it's good to be alive because we don't know where we're going to be from one end of the year to the next. Who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to put a downer on it by saying, will this be your George Michael last Christmas? I don't know. But hey, it's been real. Happy Christmas and a fab 2K25. If you get anything from these fucking things, like and subscribe. I can't even talk anymore. I'm so tired. 3:15 this morning. Like and subscribe. Just do it. Just do it. It helps the algorithm. And if you want to talk directly, you can leave a comment or get on to me, like Susan. Hi, Susan does on This Much Is True at protonmail.com. If you got a paranormal story, listen up. Paranormal Ireland at protonmail.com. This Much Is True at protonmail.com. Paranormal Ireland at protonmail.com. Oh, I'm after chopping chilies, so I have them on my fingers now, and I'm doing it again. I'm after burning the frickin' eye out of myself.